Okay, boys and girls, so let's start our first chapter. And of course, because this is a chapter book, there's really no pictures, so you'll just get to look at me, just like if we were in school. There was something evil about the 3rd Avenue bus. It stood there, almost taunting, as Jackson Opus came tearing along the sidewalk, dodging pedestrians, yelling, "Hey, hey, wait!" He was no more than 6 feet away when the door folded shut, the air brakes hissed, and the long accordion-style vehicle eased out into traffic. Jack stopped short, utterly defeated. A second later, he was rear-ended by Tommy, who had just enough breath left to shout a few choice words at the Zik Cream ad on the back of the disappearing bus. "We'll be late," Jack predicted. "Coach is going to be so mad he's going to kill us." "We can't be late for the championship game," Tommy ranted. "Maybe there'll be another bus soon." Sure enough, another M33 crested the rise. The boys rushed to the stop only to watch in despair as the driver went by without so much as a glance at them out of the corner of his eye. Tommy slammed his gym bag against the pole. "Hey man, what about us?" "No way another bus is going to come," Jack mourned. "Not after 2 in a row." Yet only a minute or so later, there it was, the route number on the front windshield clearly read M33. Even from down the avenue, Jack and Tommy could tell it was packed to the roof. The driver was concentrating on the horizon without even looking at the stop where they were waiting. "He's blowing us off," Tommy wailed. In desperation, Jack stepped out into the road, waving madly until he caught the driver's attention. Standing in the lane, he had a brief flash of how he must have looked to someone on the bus. A 12-year-old kid in the path of a ton of roaring machinery. It was more vivid than a daydream. For an instant, he actually saw himself through the glass of the windshield, growing larger and larger as the bus bore down on him. He held his ground, not for a regular game, not for the playoffs, for the championship. With a screech of metal on metal, the large vehicle lurched to a halt. Hefting their duffels, Jack and Tommy squeaked aboard like they slid in. "Opus, you are the man!" Tommy exclaimed in awe. "I'm the man, all right. If I can't get us uptown by 7:30, I'm a dead man." As Jax leaned over to swipe his Metro card, he caught sight of the driver. The man was staring at him, his face expressionless. "You freaked the guy out," Tommy whispered. "Even in New York. It's not every day some idiot steps out in front of a speeding bus." Don't try that at home. Jax flushed. "Sorry, mister. We're just really late. You have to get us to 96th Street as soon as possible." The door hissed shut, and the bus started north, gathering speed. It beat the yellow light at 14th and sailed up the avenue. The stop request bell rang several times, but the bus kept going. "Hey," came a voice. "You missed my block." There was no response from the driver, who hunched over the big wheel, weaving through the traffic rush, accelerating to the speed limit and far beyond. Horns sounded and tires squealed as frightened motorists swerved out to get out of the way. Pedestrians ran for their lives. Jack gawked at the driver. Was he nuts? This was an accordion bus, not a race car. City roads were crowded with stoplights on every corner, and the guy had a pedal to the metal. So the bus driver is driving ridiculously fast. And even the kids that are on the bus aren't happy about it. The other people on the bus are not happy about it, and he's being very dangerous, which is kind of weird because most of the time bus drivers are pretty cautious. "Dude, this is the best bus in New York," Tommy exclaimed. "We might just make it after all." Wordlessly, Jax watched out the window as the blocks flashed by. Lights turned red, but the bus driver plowed straight through. Cross traffic screeched to a halt. There was a crunch as the taxi tried to reverse out of the path of the hurtling M33 and bashed in the front grille of an SUV. The passenger's reaction morphed from surprise to anger to outright panic. "Are you crazy, mister? You caused an accident back there. You're a mile and a half past my stop. You're gonna get us killed. I'm calling the cops." As they barreled across 59th Street, a slow-moving garbage truck lumbered directly into their path. The driver yanked on the wheel so abruptly that his head bumped against the side window. Passengers were tossed from their seats and standees swayed violently. Like on the big buses, people actually stand sometimes. Which didn't bode well for them. Screams ran out and cell phones hit the floor. Jax clung to the rail to avoid being thrown down the entrance steps. Tommy was pressed against the door. The whole interior vibrated like a guitar string. The bus shot the gap between the truck and a row of taxis. Rattled over some construction plates. Sorry. Sometimes I read ahead while I'm reading. So bear with me. They were now the undisputed kings of the road. Pedestrians and cars scattered to get out of their way. It took no more than a peek in the rearview mirror to convince a motorist that he or she wanted no quarrel with this speeding juggernaut. I think they made a word up. Juggernaut plowing down up the avenue. Its accordion attached back, oscillating like a tail of a shark. So it was like weaving back and forth as they drove. Like, this is a really big bus. And like the front of it is part of it, but then it has an accordion, so it moves. Inside was pandemonium. Angry shouts, terrified screams, and even prayers. One man was out of his seat trying to wrestle the wheel away from the driver, who was holding him off with his stiff arm. Jack's wide eyes met Tommy's. At this point, basketball was the last thing on their mind. What was going on here? Exactly how scared should they be? Both were city kids, tough to impress. Yet they'd heard stories of people snapping and doing some crazy things. Was that what was happening to the driver? And was it just bad luck that they put them on this bus at this very day? He chose to flash out in a blaze of demented glory. The shrieking of brakes and ear-splitting pocketbooks and loose objects were airborne. Businessmen went down like dominoes. Jax was slammed into the bulkhead. Tommy was tossed on top of him. At the last moment, Jax held up his gym bag, preventing a head-on collision that would have knocked them both unconscious. In a few devastating seconds, the bus jolted from speeding missile to shattering complete stop. The door hissed open. 96th Street, the driver announced pleasantly. Cries of pain and whimpers of fear filled the long vehicle. Buried under Tommy, his heart pounding, and his throat, all Jax could manage was, "Huh?" 96, the man said. "Have a nice day." Jax and Tommy disembarked, and they weren't the only ones. Passengers, gasping and wheezing with relief, joined the stampede onto the safety of the sidewalk. The fact that most were far from their destinations didn't bother them anymore. They had fully expected to be dead. Being alive was a definite plus for the day. His bus completely empty, the driver moved on with a friendly wave. It prompted a chorus of angry shouts from his former riders. Jax could hear sirens in a distance. He labored to get his breathing under control. How weird was that? But Tommy was looking past him at the clock tower on the corner. "We can still make it. Let's run." So that was chapter 1 of Gordon Corman's The Hypnotists. So I didn't read the back of the book because sometimes when you read the back of the book, it tells you more about the story than you really want to know. And it does say on the front, extraordinary kid, extraordinary powers. So, and if you look at the picture, kind of tells you something about him, maybe. So you guys can kind of think about what you think happened with that bus driver. And I would like to point out, because I know that when you sit there and listen to your teachers read, sometimes it's easy to find mistakes and things that we say and do. But I've always told you I'm human, and I don't read every single word perfectly. And sometimes I stumble over my words, and sometimes I mispronounce words. Sometimes I don't know how to say a word. But that's okay, because we're all learning. Even adults learn. So, what I would like you guys to do is be thinking about what's going on with this. If you see this video posted somewhere and you want to send me an email or a comment about what you think is going to happen in this book, more than welcome to do it. That would be super awesome. I have never read this book, so I'm going through it with you. So we'll see. It's got 33 chapters, so we'll probably read more than one in a day. But as this is the first one, and I already had like a preview video to go with this one, I'm going to leave it with one chapter today. So we'll see how this goes. Miss you guys. Bye.